What's going on, brothers and sisters? Chris here from Namaste Gaming, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Dust, an Elysian Tale. Let's get to it. Dust is a Metroidvania-style beat-em-up with RPG elements made by a singular human being over the course of 3 years, a dude by the name of Dean Dodrell. He handled all the animation, world design, storyline, and programming, and before starting Dust, he had absolutely zero prior experience with programming. Just for the record, folks, you never would have been able to guess that by playing the game. I mention this first because Dust isn't just an amazing game. It's also proof positive that if you pour your heart and soul into something, even something with very little mainstream commercial appeal, like, say, a game from a niche genre with anthropomorphic animal characters, if you do it well enough, good things will come your way, and that's pretty awesome. Now that we've got the feel-good American dream success story out of the way, let's talk about the game itself. By this point, you've probably already decided that you either love or hate the art style. I've heard both sides, I understand both. Taste in art is subjective, of course, but for me personally, this game has been a visual treat through and through. The vibrant color palette, environments and characters that evoke vibes of a Studio Ghibli Disney crossover, the fluid and distinctive animations, I love it. It may not be for everyone, but it definitely works for me. That said, the art style is far from the most remarkable thing about this game. What this game does better than any other Metroidvania I've played in recent years is the combat. This is almost perfect beat-em-up combat. Literally the only knock against it that I can come up with is that it would be nice to get a weapon other than the sword at some point. Aside from that, I can't really complain. There are a variety of attack combos that are useful for different situations, and you will feel like a bona fide badass, flying through the air, shooting lightning everywhere, grabbing an enemy and spiking them down onto another enemy's head from an entire screen above them. While early enemies are essentially just food for your XP bar, farther into the game, you'll start to encounter far more challenging baddies, which will require you to make extensive use of the dodge and parry systems, as well as environmental hazards like spikes, rock slides, and poison-dripping flowers to keep you on your toes. If you've ever wanted deeper combat in your Metroidvania games, this is pretty much the top of the food chain. And for any devs wanting to compete in this genre, this is pretty much the game to beat as far as combat is concerned. The game also has a basic RPG-style stat allocation system that allows you to build Dust for improved damage, tankiness, or magic usage. All builds are viable, and if you find yourself lagging behind where you want to be in a certain area, you have the option to grind out a level relatively quickly and easily. At one point, I had an issue with being one-shotted by a mob that required a perfectly timed parry to break past their invulnerability, so I grinded out 2 levels in half an hour, pumped my health and defense a bit more, went back, and was able to handle it with comparative ease. While it's not as deep as the customization you'd find in a standard RPG, it does a great job of allowing you to tune the game to fit your preferred playstyle. Going further into customization, we've got a basic but versatile item system that even extends itself to include rudimentary crafting options. A decent variety of blueprints to take to your friendly neighborhood blacksmith gives you even more control over how your stats are allocated, and the fairly unique way the shop system works ensures that you'll never be gated from progression. All you ever need is 1 drop of a crafting component, and once you sell that to the shop, they'll restock it constantly. On the critical side, there does seem to usually be a best-in-slot item at any given point in the game, but the counterpoint to that is that the game doesn't really do much to punish you for gearing or building in a suboptimal way. Speaking of items, as you may have noticed by now, enemies in this game are loot piñatas. Every enemy you kill drops coin, plus they all have a chance to drop crafting components, blueprints, food, and equipable items. While it's not on par with the loot you'd get in a game like Torchlight 2, it's still pretty awesome when you realize that the giant spider you just killed dropped a blueprint for a huge upgrade. Items aren't the only thing you'll upgrade along the way though. As the game progresses, you'll find orbs that unlock new abilities like a crouching slide and the ability to climb certain walls. These abilities will allow you to backtrack and get access to certain chests or complete side quests that you may have passed by before. Also, each boss that you beat unlocks a new projectile type for Fidget, and although I would have liked to see projectile choice have a bit more impact than it does, for the most part as it currently stands it's mostly a cosmetic difference as far as I can tell. I still do enjoy the Mega Man-esque vibe of being able to make use of a defeated boss's powers. In addition to the main storyline, there are also a fair amount of side quests and a quirky but fun little dungeon delve time trial challenge sort of thing. Both the dialogue and the storyline itself strike me as very anime-inspired, and while they're rife with cliches and inconsistent voice acting quality, the overall presentation is done well enough that I'd be very excited to see what Dojro could do with a properly funded sequel, or at least a spiritual successor. In terms of overall length, the number I keep hearing thrown around is 20 hours, which, at a price of $15 US, is pretty reasonable for the amount of gameplay you get for your dollar. Although frankly, with a game this good, I think I'd want even more, even if it was already a 60-hour game. And that really pretty much sums up my final verdict on this game. Outside of the better games in the two series that birthed the genre, Dust: An Elysian Tale is the closest that a Metroidvania game has come to perfection, in my opinion. To top it off, the PC port was brilliantly handled, with a more extensive options menu than the vast majority of AAA games and excellent performance to boot. If you like Metroid, Castlevania, or any sort of brawler-type games, you'd be silly to not put this game on your buy list. It's up there with the best of its genre, and it's one of the best, most beautiful indie games I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Once again, it retails for $15 US on Steam, and it's well worth every penny. That's all I've got as far as the review is concerned, but I mentioned in my Humble Indie Bundle 8 video that I was going to announce the winner of the Hotline Miami giveaway in this review. There were quite a few entrants to this one compared to previous giveaways I've done, and you guys gave me a good laugh with some of the comments you left, but unfortunately there can only be one winner, at least until someone starts hooking me up with stuff to give away to you guys. For now, that winner, courtesy of random.org, is jwells62225. So check your YouTube PMs and let's get you your free copy of Hotline Miami. That is a wrap, folks. If you enjoyed it, hit me up with a like, and if you're new around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Much love to each and every one of you, and of course, stay black.